All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and afternoon for those of you who are tuning in from the western and northern side of the world as well. As you might have already known from the plenary sessions earlier, my name is Ara. I'm a young change maker. I'm the founder of AHA Project as well, and also the youth years leader of Ashoka. And I'm going to be moderating this discussion for the next 30 minutes on raising young people's voices to take charge with an amazing group of panelists who are working on young people and their ecosystem as well. We have here joining us from Indonesia, we have Ibu Septi, a mother of three and the mother of Ibu Professional, a learning and supportive community of mothers that strives to improve women's quality of life with 30,000 members across 10 different countries, growing, learning, and strengthening each other. Welcome, Ibu Septi. And another powerful woman in the room, we have Ibu Wilita, the managing director of Inibudi, a nonprofit organization which creates and produces digital learning materials of school subjects based on Indonesian curriculum. This initiative collaborates with teachers and people who are competent in their field to create high-quality materials to be distributed and used by the students, teachers, and parents across the country. Welcome, Ibu Wilita. Still in the
Hi, hello.
education sector, thank you, Bu. Still in the education sector, we have Sarans. Sarans is here joining us from India. He works towards enhancing parental and community engagement in public primary schools with his organization, Saja, to ensure an effective collaboration between schools and the community with the aim to improve the learning outcomes. Welcome, Sarans. Last but not least, we have Chris, the co-founder of MEDA, who supports and prepares young people for life after school through a combination of 21st century skills training, career counseling, and alumni support that propels young people on career paths of their choice. Welcome, Chris. So it really is an honor to be here in this room with all of you, powerful change makers from India and Indonesia, two of the largest countries in the world with an increasing number of youth population as well. So what an opportunity we have right here, and what a challenge as well. We know that in fact, change makers are not necessarily born, and they are shaped by the experiences, the environment, and the people in their growing up years. So I'd like to start with Ibu Sapti here. So Ibu Sapti, tell us more about who in your life has supported you as a change maker, and what did they do to support you? Because you have created such a great impact with Ibu Professional. I'm sure there are so many people behind the journey. So please tell us more about your story there.
Okay, thank you, Ara. Hi, everyone. My name is Septi Penny Wulandani. I'm from Indonesia. I'm a founder of Ibu Professional Community. It's a learning community for women. We learn about how to educate the children, how to manage the family, how to be a productive mother, and how to be an agent of change. I do believe that educating a mother means educating one generation. I'm a mother with three young people, so I'm very excited to join this forum because in this session we will talk about young people. So it means about future. Okay. I started my change maker journey when I'm 21 years old. When I got married, I became a housewife. At that time, housewives in Indonesia were marginalized women, considered an unemployed woman, not recognized as a proud profession. So my husband and my children are my main support on the change maker journey. My family is a place where I dare to share a dream, supported to run it immediately. And the second supported is my community. Community is my place to share dreams, share experiences that I do. Community is a place where these changes grow to become real and have an impact each other. Thank you.
Very powerful, Giuseppe. Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, educating a mother means educating a generation. And
Yeah.
family and community indeed have great influence that shapes who we are today, especially parents whom you're also supporting in Ibu Professional. So, Sarans, you're also working with parents, teachers, and the community as well through the school management committees to achieve better learning outcomes for children in public primary schools. What do you think are the roles of the adult lives in the ecosystem in ensuring that young people can grow up with agency, with empathy, and complementing the knowledge they received in schools to prepare them for the future?
Thanks for the introduction, Anna. I think one thing the adults might have to learn is actually unlearn. Unlearn a lot of things that they were taught while they were growing up, and sort of try to apply certain other frameworks, principles, given the world around them has changed. I think if one thing that adults have to change is to sort of unlearn practices that they were taught. It could be schools, it could be parents, it could be other stakeholders, and learn and sort of try and work with adults to one, listen to them, and sort of then understand what is it that potentially can be done. And I think a long way in sort of the listening process is to also ensure that we are able to listen to adults, and our work with parents specifically sort of looks at that. Given the cultures that we have, given the systems that we have, listening is an important thing which does not necessarily happen automatically. How do you create systems for listening to adults, their concerns, their grievances, and then try and work with them to ensure that they are able to listen to adults, listen to youth, young people, to create spaces for them to flourish, for them to thrive in a world that is changing constantly. So I think one, try and unlearn certain things. Two, try and listen to a lot of the things that are happening around.
Thank you, Sarans. It's important for us to also learn to unlearn and learn how to learn as well. I mean, there are so many changes in development in knowledge and skills, and I think we can't really just live with a fixed set of knowledge, fixed set of skills. We have to keep growing as well. And after learning, we also learn how to learn to unlearn, and then learn to listen to the adults, to listen to the young people as well and what they say. Thank you, Soren. And for the audience, feel free to leave a comment or question on the chat room as well, and we will try to address them at the end of the session if possible. So, talking about the future, children and youth are now growing up with technology around them. With the fast paced development of the internet as an information source, it is time for education to catch up with the trends as well and adopt a new mindset of learning and doing, just like what Soren has been explaining before. And Inibudi is one of the organizations that capture this phenomenon. So, Ibu Wilita, how do you see the role of technology in supporting young people to learn holistically and be an active player or a contributor in this rapidly changing world?
Technology plays a huge role in the formation of new society in the 21st century. I mean, we don't just talk about the youth, but we also need to empower parents. We also need to enforce governments and also the civil societies. Everyone must take part in the formation of new learning community because of the rapid changes that's happening in the world. Everyone and every stakeholders must take an attitude of lifelong learners so that we grow together, not just pushing our youth to think about their future, but we also have to take part in it to prepare them for the future and to prepare the foundation of the new world that will be that would have high awareness of technology, the effect of technology, the climate change, and also the what kind of contributions they have to the world, not just in their own community.
Indeed, it takes a village to raise a child. And what about in Inibudi itself, Bu Wilita? How did you make the best use of technology to support the young people in getting their education, not only about the school subject, but also maybe other skills that they need along their growing up years?
Yes. We provide references for videos for learning. Of course, we want to close the gap of the access to school education in Indonesia, reliable school education, and then we provide trainings for teachers to be able to create that content as well and start the conversation with the students on how to create a learning environment at school or now online to be able to use that online medias as a learning for learning objectives. And also we provide trainings for the youth to explore their creativity and their critical thinking in content creation projects that now it's already available on our website. So we would like to pursue that activity as well because we need to engage that conversation with Indonesian youth.
Yeah, thank you, Bubilita. And
You're
I
welcome.
think for most of us, we go to school and get educated with the hope to improve our livelihood, like preparing ourselves for the future, preparing for the next generation for the future. And apparently, as technology disruption and fundamental societal changes accelerate as well, today's education model will no longer be enough for tomorrow. The jobs of the future are still unknown, and this requires new types of skills to be able to thrive and meet the challenges of a changing world as well. I'd like to go with Chris and Meda here. What do you think are those qualities that young people should have to thrive in this century, and what are the opportunities for adults to create more space for children to take charge and practice those skills?
Thanks, Sarah. Good question. Yeah, I think our approach has been, really the best way is through experience. I think first to really kind of understand what you want to do. I think that has been a big priority for us in working with a lot of young people is helping them first kind of understand what do they like and what do they not like. Because I think, like all of us here today, that if you're not at least kind of somewhat interested and ideally kind of passionate about what you're doing, then you're probably not going to want to continue to do it and continue to learn and try to excel in that space. So I think that's the first thing for us is to really kind of help young people identify what they actually enjoy and what they want to do. And then from there, yes, I think there's clearly some transferable skills that we believe can be applied to a lot of different jobs in a lot of different sectors, because like you rightly pointed out, we really don't know what those future jobs are. So clearly, being able to work in teams, being able to collaborate with people, the education system is largely set up for individual kind of learning and individual test taking. And so how do you kind of bring more of that collaborative group-based approach to students while they're still studying, because once they get into the workplace, that's what they're going to need. Basic things like, how do you communicate with people for the first time? Because a lot of work these days is, service-based or customer-facing or client-facing. And, how do you prepare young people to be able to handle those kind of things? And then, of course, have empathy, be able to problem solve on the fly and kind of really understand where people are coming from. So these are the kind of transferable things that we focus on. But yes, I really think the most important thing is that you learn that through real life experience. You can't really learn that in a classroom or, in that kind of environment. So yeah, I think that's been what we have learned over the years.
Thanks, Chris. I'm hearing a lot about passion, about communication, teamwork, leadership, and most of them are soft skills that I'm hearing right now, and those are being acquired through experiential learning. How do you think the balance between the soft skills and the knowledge itself, the hard skills or the subjects like math, science that children are learning at school, how do you think about balancing both of them and the importance of learning both as well for their future?
Yeah, I think both are very critical, and more, I think, like you're saying, the sort of foundational and fundamental, kind of skills that young people should really be learning in primary school and secondary school. I think that, when you get to that point where you're starting to think about your career and thinking about what you want to do professionally, honestly, it's too late in some ways. Like if you haven't built, a lot of those kind of fundamental, cognitive and non-cognitive skills that are going to be required in that workplace. So yes, I think, those need to be there. Those foundations kind of need to be there. And maybe at some baseline level, some basic level, I don't think they need to be very advanced, because I think, like I said, most of that is going to happen on the job in those first 5 years, 10 years of your professional life. So yes, getting to that baseline kind of level, of course, it's very critical. It needs to happen, and it needs to happen a lot earlier than it probably is right now.
Yeah, yeah. And I would like to go back to Sarans here, because you're working with a lot of stakeholders in the children's education. And I think it's really important for us to develop the learning system that is not only about in the schools, but also in the community, at home with the parents as well. How are you ensuring that this multi-sector collaboration is happening there, which then help facilitate the children's, and what are the new learning paradigms that you would like to see happening between these three different stakeholders of parents, teachers, community, to work together for the future generation?
Yeah. And it's an interesting question, because while all of the three stakeholders that we talked about, the teacher, the parents, the community members, they play a critical role in ensuring development of youth and children, they're also adversaries in some sense. Whereas a teacher who's teaching has to be held accountable by the parent, the teacher sort of often would say parents are not doing their job at home, and the community would often sort of say there are not enough resources for us to do things. And I think what we have understood in the last 7 years of our work is the idea that one has to sort of work to ensure the learning of children has to come from conversation between these three stakeholders. They will have to come together and talk. And I think within the idea of having a conversation, I think two things are critical. One is empathy. The second is trust. Empathy for the stakeholders. For example, the work of the teacher is not as easy as it might look like, or the work of a family who might not have the required resources to sort of work with children, and the condition that the children might be living at home might be very different from what the teachers imagine. And so it's essential that there is conversation happening, there is trust developing between these stakeholders, and then there are and people are able to empathize with each other, understanding what the context is of the other stakeholders. And I think within this framework of developing trust and developing empathy across stakeholders, what we have often observed are, you begin with small set of quick wins for each of these stakeholders. So for example, if you're getting all the stakeholders, and the issue is that the school is not working well, can we pick up one small thing and try and work towards this? For example, can we all come together to paint the school, which is not something that teachers would refuse, which is not something that parents would refuse, which is not something that the community cannot add value to. So can we all come together and do a small thing that actually helps us feel that we can collaborate and we can do certain things? So small, quick actions for winning actually leads to development of more trust and sort of understanding the position of the other stakeholders. And therefore, conversations around what needs to be done to ensure development of children becomes critical. And we have often observed, whereas teachers might have certain restrictions on what they teach, so it's important for them to stick to the curriculum. But if you start having a conversation with teachers, they are also speaking similar languages that parents would speak. For example, they would always want their children to succeed. Parents also want their children to succeed. And can we sort of get them to the common platform of, okay, can we all come together and define what success would look like? What would the future be? and then prepare ourselves accordingly. So I think that's something that we have observed in our work, doing small actions, creating trust, creating empathy, and then moving the conversations to the future and the vision that you have for children.
I love it. It's a fun activities that we can do together to break the barrier and start to just get to know each other with the parents, the teachers, the maybe the young people as well, and the community, and build that empathy, the trust, the respect, because everyone is actually moving towards the same vision for the young people, for the future as well. It's just that maybe they haven't really trying to understand others' perspective and collaborate together. In Indonesia, we call it gotong royong, meaning like we work hand in hand to achieve the same visions between members in the community. So really powerful. So I was actually a bit mistaken during the briefing later. I mean, previously that we were only have 20 minutes, but actually we have 30 minutes. So we have 10 more minutes, yay, for us to discuss further. And we will after I think I'd like to go back to Ibu Septi here because we talked a lot about the ecosystem, and in fact, parents are the first and foremost educators of the children, especially in the early childhood and growing up years. What do you think are some of the principles for parents to support children to be able to reach their full potential and making sure that their voices are heard? What is your advice for parents to better prepare the educations at home for the children?
Okay, interesting question, Ara. Thank you. At first, as a mother, at a educator, the main of educator of the children, we have always give confidence to our children, to young people, to dream and be confident to make it happen. We as adult provide more support and opportunities to work for them. We can practice as friends to grow and study partner. Yes, study partner or not teaching. I my children always say that don't teach me. I love to learn. Yes, it's powerful sentence in my home with learn with our children. We can also be a mentor for young people according to our respective expertise or passion. The most important thing is not to dictate of young people. They were born for their area. So educate the young people according to their era. Thank you, Aran.
Thank you, Busepti. It's not about teaching, dictating the young person that this is what you should learn, this is how you should, behave or you should be, but we facilitate them to grow based on their nature, based on their era as well, because there are so many a lot of changes that are happening right now. So how can they be the person with their full potential at that time, not according to the previous mindset and learning system that the parents were, growing up with previously.
Yes,
So
definitely.
thank you, Bu. So Ibu Wilita, after hearing what Ibu Septi has been, sharing about how we are actually playing the role as a facilitator, how are you making any booty as the facilitator of learning? I know you're also producing several educational materials as well, but aside from the educational materials, what else do you think that the adults allies in their ecosystem or maybe the organizations can provide for the young people for them to thrive?
It's for we see two additional stakeholders on this conversation. Firstly, is the government. We as parents, we start from at home. We start by knowing our children, their learning style, their preferences, their talents, their passions, and then our job as parents is to find education institution that would provide them, that would provide rooms for our children to develop themselves. But then the government has to take the lead. We, as the people, we should select our representative to that also believe in those values. And the government should lead by talking, also involving the corporate, um, the companies or corporations who are taking these young people as their future talents. So the conversation should be like maybe five parties, and anybody wants to do that with going uh, start talking about what kind of skills that is needed in the 21st century. That's why we have these professions videos with people with all kinds of profession. But I think the next conversation is what are the skills that is needed in the 21st century? What do governments do about it? What do they do to provide that? And what kind of institutions that will develop their programs towards that? For example, um, is there universities that teach renewable energy, for example? I don't think there are many universities have that program. So everyone should take part in this. The government's job is to foresee what kind of talents that we need in the future and what kind of skills that they need. Let's say second languages, IT knowledge and IT skills, and also collaboration, creative, critical thinking, and all sort of soft skills, and also and then turn that into a nationwide program for corporation for education in corporation, education in schools, etc. So everyone, I think all the stakeholders must sit down and really think about what we need for the future for the youth. Yeah.
Really, I think I totally agree with that. That it's not only about the individuals here, but also the policy, the government, the system itself. I know it
Yes.
might take time to actually
Yes.
shift and change the entire system, but at least maybe we can start the change within ourselves with our
Yes.
mindset and action as well. And I still remember when I was in junior high school, the textbook that I used was actually the content of the textbook was similar to what my parents used to learn in junior high school. And
Yes.
in the textbook itself, it was science at the time, and I learned about the three fundamental states of matter from my textbook, which are solid, liquid, and gas, and that's it. But when I Google it right now, I think there are over 12 or even 18 states of matter, and it's just fascinating how people are kind of like we're trying to cope up with a lot of changes and the development of knowledge as well right now. And I think coming back again to Chris' points before, the soft skills and the experiential learning is really important. So I'm mindful of the time, and it's been really lovely. And I'd like to maybe invite every speaker to quickly share your closing statement to wrap up our discussions. What are your message to the audience and to the world in building a conducive ecosystem for young people to take charge and be a driver for change? Maybe we can start with Ibu Wilita first, since you're already unmuted.
Oh, okay. My statement is embrace technology and involve youth for future conversations.
Thank you, Bu Wilita. Sarans, would you like to top that statement?
I think I'll stick to what I said earlier. I think unlearn. We need to unlearn to get to future learning.
Awesome. Chris, what do you say? What is your message?
Yeah, I would say, approach it like a mentor as opposed to someone who feels like, they have all the answers, especially when you're working with younger people. Help them on their journey. It's not your journey.
Awesome, Chris. Ibu Septi, what is your message for the audience here?
Okay, help young people, help small guys, because small guys will be a big. Young people will have the seeds you bury in their minds, and when they grow up, they will change the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and powerful insights, Chris, Ibu Wilita, Sarans, Ibu Septi. What a fruitful conversation we had, and thank you for all the audience as well who are joining us today. It's been so lovely to have this opportunity to ask questions and hear your insights. And it's been an honor for me to be the moderator here. So for everyone, we have one more agenda after this before we end the forum. So please head back to the swap card applications or website that you are using. And in the main plenary room, click the live session button there on the upper side of your screen and have a good rest of the day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ara.
Thank you, Ara.
Thank you.